You hear the name Boeing and you immediately think of airplanes, right? A giant of aviation. But lately the headlines have been, well, they've been all about crisis and controversy. So to figure out what's really going on inside this company, we're going to go straight to the source, their official 2024 annual report. We're going to break down the numbers, the warnings, and their plan for what comes next.
Okay, let's just start with a number so big, it's kind of hard to wrap your head around. Over $500 billion. That's the size of Boeing's order backlog. We're talking about thousands of planes and defense projects that customers have already ordered and are just waiting to get. It's a huge vote of confidence, no doubt. It shows you just how massive the demand is for what they build. The stakes really couldn't be any higher.
But then, just a few pages away from that incredible backlog number, you find this. It's right there in their own risk factors section. And this, right here, is the central conflict of the whole story. You've got this massive $500 billion promise on one hand, and on the other, an internal warning that says, hey, we've got some serious problems that might stop us from delivering.
So this brings us to the big question, doesn't it? With record demand on one side and these deep operational challenges on the other, what is the true state of Boeing today? Using their own report, let's dive in and find out.
You want to know what's really going on inside a company? The first place you look is the numbers. You follow the money. Because long before problems show up on the factory floor, they show up on the balance sheet. And believe me, Boeing's financials tell one heck of a story.
Just look at this chart from the report. It tells you everything you need to know about investor confidence. If you had put $100 into Boeing stock back in 2019, its value would have just plummeted over the next 5 years. This isn't just a little dip, folks. This is a serious long-term erosion of trust in the market.
And here's why. This table is pretty eye-opening. Just look at the change in a single year. Revenues dropped by over $11 billion. Okay, that's bad. But check out the operating loss. It went from under $1 billion to almost $11 billion. It didn't just grow, it exploded. So the company isn't just making less money, it's losing it at a frankly alarming rate.
So where are these massive losses coming from? Well, the report points a big finger at something called fixed-priced development programs. Think of it like this. It's like agreeing to build a super complex, custom house for a set price. If the cost of wood suddenly skyrockets or you run into unexpected problems, too bad. You, the builder, have to eat all those extra costs. That's what's happening to Boeing.
And how much have they been eating? Get this. In 2024 alone, the company lost $5 billion on just 5 of these fixed-price contracts. That's almost half of their total operating loss for the entire year, from just a handful of programs.
And here's the breakdown. We're not talking about small side projects here. These are flagship defense and space programs. The new Air Force tanker, the next-gen training jet, the new Air Force One for crying out loud. The losses are just staggering. The tanker and the Red Hawk alone account for nearly $4 billion of that $5 billion hole.
So the report uses this fancy accounting term for this mess, a reach-forward loss. All that really means is that Boeing's accountants have looked at these huge, long-term projects and have basically said, yep, there is no way we're ever going to make money on this. In fact, we are guaranteed to lose money over the life of this contract. And when that happens, accounting rules say you have to report that entire future loss right now. That's why these numbers are just so huge.
So, we know the financial what. They're losing a ton of money. But that just leads to the operational why. Why are the costs on these absolutely critical programs just spiraling out of control? To answer that, we've got to move from the spreadsheet to the factory floor. Because 2024 was, well, it was a year of total turmoil.
I mean, this timeline just lays out the chaos. The year kicks off with the FAA launching a major investigation after a pretty terrifying in-flight incident. And then, just as they're under this intense microscope, things get even worse. In September, a massive union strike brings production to a grinding halt for nearly 2 whole months.
Now, you might wonder just how big a deal that strike was. Well, have a look at this. According to their own data, over a third of Boeing's entire workforce is in a union. So in the biggest one, the IAM 751, with its 30,000-plus members, walks off the job, commercial aircraft production doesn't just slow down, it basically stops.
And you can bet the federal regulators were watching every single move. The FAA's investigation was, to put it mildly, blunt. The report says they found multiple instances where Boeing just failed to follow its own quality control rules. And the consequence? The FAA basically put a cap on 737 production.
Boeing is not allowed to speed up its assembly lines until it can prove, without a doubt, that its safety and quality systems are fixed.
Okay, so you've got mounting financial losses, you've got chaos on the factory floor. How do you even begin to fix this? Well, let's take a look at the official turnaround strategy they've laid out in their own report.
The big message coming from the top is a promise to change the entire culture. This quote here really signals a shift. It's them saying, we need to get away from the stuff that got us into this mess and get back to what made this company great in the first place, and that's engineering and quality.
And here it is, the actual roadmap they submitted to the FAA. It's a 4-point plan, and it's all about getting back to basics. We're talking better training for the people on the floor, making manufacturing plans way less complicated, a relentless hunt to eliminate defects, and a top-to-bottom push to improve the whole culture around safety. This slide right here really gets to the heart of the change. Before, it felt like the priority was speed. Accelerate production, get planes out the door, meet that huge backlog. But now, there's a new non-negotiable mandate, and it's coming straight from the FAA: safety and quality first. Speed can only come after quality is proven.
Look, having a plan on paper is one thing, but actually executing it, that's a whole different ballgame. And to its credit, the annual report is pretty honest about the massive challenges that are still ahead. Boeing itself lays out some major risks that could make this recovery very, very tricky.
And these risks are no joke. I mean, the company's future is completely tied to how well commercial airlines are doing. Its defense business lives and dies by unpredictable government budgets, it's facing fierce competition from all sides, and, yeah, after that 2024 strike, the threat of more labor issues and supply chain nightmares is still a very real danger to their entire comeback plan.
So that's where we're left, isn't it? You've got this incredible demand, represented by that $500 billion backlog. But you've also got this mountain of financial, operational, and cultural challenges that they themselves have documented. The ultimate question is, can this giant of aviation actually pull off its turnaround plan? And, this is the most important part, rebuild the trust of its customers, its regulators, and all of us who fly. Their own 2024 report gives us the map, but as it makes perfectly clear, the journey ahead is anything but certain.